मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी।
Well, my dear students, we are again back to the sheet metal forming lecture. We started with the different types of sheet metal forming operations and their details. So, in this lecture, we would cover the bending and stretching forming, explosive forming, etc. Right? Rubber forming, rubber hydroforming, etc. Okay. So, let us see what happens in rubber hydroforming process. Usually, if you look at this right side, where it is a Guerian process, we call it. So, you have a upper platen, you have a press bed, and then you have blank, and then there is a rubber pad, and then there is a kind of water and a polyurethane. So, in case of rubber hydroforming, you know that there is a hydroforming stress, hydrostatic stress, and you use a pad of rubber or polyurethane as a die in this case. So, a metal blank is first placed over the form block, which is fastened to the bed of a single acting hydraulic press, like as shown here in this figure right side. During forming, the rubber which is placed in the retainer box on the upper platen of the press transmits a nearly uniform hydrostatic pressure against the sheet, right. So, usually a pressure of around 10 megapascal and is applied, and where the higher local pressure can be also obtained by using axially operated toolings, something like that. Okay. So, this is what the basic concept of rubber hydroforming. Usually, if you compare the rubber hydroforming usual with the hydroforming operations, you know. So, what happens in the hydroforming? So, if you look at the right side figure, the arrangement for a hydroforming operation on a sheet, you have the drawing on the right side, a drawing of hydroforming setup with fluid supplied from to both sides of the materials, right. So, what happens here, if you see, this is a different case where the both side fluid is applied. On one side the pressure is low, on the other side the pressure is less. So, here you see the usual arrangement, a view of the region of the hydroforming is shown, where the stamp hydroforming machine setup with the fluid supplied from one side of the draw blank is shown. So, this side, left side, you have only one side hydraulic pressure, and on the other side the arrangement has been shown where the both side pressure it is possible to apply. So usually hydroforming is used for sheet forming of aluminum alloys and reinforced thermoplastics as well. So one can use it, and very popular process because it is capable to produce almost zero defect, because you use the hydrostatic pressure, application of hydrostatic pressure. So on the other hand, you look at this, the bending and contouring operations. So lot of tool sheet metal can be formed by bending and contouring. Various forms of contour is possible, like this thing you see, the bending machine. Generally you use a bending machine. So the bending machine may have 3 rollers here, like this case. So 3 roll bender one can have. So if you use the 3 roll bender, sometimes it does not provide uniform deformation in thin gauge sheet due to the midpoint of the span, and the localization of the strain it is possible, and it is often need the fourth roll to have this. So the 3 roll bender, where you require a very typical situation where the wiper type bender, the second is the wiper type bender, where the tool contour is formed by successive hammer blows on the sheet, which is clamped at one end against the form block. Wiper rolls must be pressed against the block with the uniform pressure supplied by the hydraulic cylinder in this case. Whereas in case of wrap forming, which is the third case, here the sheet is compressed against a form block and at the same time a longitudinal stress is applied to prevent buckling and wrinkling operation. Usually the cooling of a spring around a mandrel is very important example. As far as the contouring is concerned, these rollers may have contour on their faces that is replicated to the sheet. The bending and contouring machines is shown here. You can see the other example where the pipe bending machine, we use the pipe, you bend in a different fashion, and the left side is again the same. So you have again the 3 and the contour is also transferred. You see on the rollers the different contours. So the speed of the roller will decide the rate at which the bending is done, contouring is done, and it is decided by depending on the how much stress it is able to bear a particular material. This shows the another example of forming process, sheet forming, which is called as the spinning process. So the spinning process, generally you have a deep parts of circular symmetry as shown here, such as tank heads, television cones, etc. You look at. You can use a material of aluminum and alloys, high strength alloys, low alloy steels, copper, brass, and alloys, stainless steel, and all that one can use. Generally manual spinning is also possible. The shear spinning may also be possible. The spinning processes are very popular most of the utensils, household utensils, can be produced with the spinning process, and this is what the size of the spin parts is shown. You can see the height of the person and the size of the component that has been made, and the lower one shows the how the bending takes place. The manual spinning can also be performed with a tool, and then another which is called as the shear spinning can also be. The metal blank is actually in spinning. The metal blank is clamped against a form block which is rotated at very high speed, and then the blank is progressively formed against the block by a manual rod tool or by means of small diameter work rods. Generally, no change in thickness is obtained, but there is a diametral change, and secondly, the diameter equals to the blank diameter, but the thickness stays the same in this case. So, the spinning is a popular process where the thickness almost remains same. Another very interesting process is explosive forming process, where you use different kinds of explosives. The energy of the explosive is used to form the component. So, generally the explosive forming is used to produce large parts with a relatively low production lot size. The sheet metal blank is generally placed over a die cavity, and an explosive charge, as I said, is detonated in medium. Usually water is the medium at an appropriate standoff distance from the blank at a very high velocity. So, this is the way how the forming takes place. The shock wave propagating from the explosion serves as a frictionless sponge, and there are different versions of explosive forming. Like this is the simplest version, where you make some kind of shape. You may even use the symmetric forming, you may use even the tube explosive forming. So, there are many varieties we would discuss later, and the mechanics and the charge, how much as far as the design of the explosive forming corresponding to a given component size and shape is concerned, that is also very interesting. So, the location of the explosive charge and the amount of the explosive charge and the level of the water, these are very important issue, and one can design the pressure generated because of the explosion, so that you can guide the pressure around the piece to shape it. So, that is the simple case of the explosive forming. In case of shearing and blanking, we have the separation of metal by the movement of two blades, which is operated based on shearing forces. So, like this case, so the shearing and blanking almost goes together. So, here you have the separation of metal by the movement of two blades, which is operated based on shearing forces, and a narrow strip of metal is severely plastically deformed to the point where it fractures at the surface, is in contact with the blades, and that is how the shearing takes place. As shown in the figure, you require a proper clearance and this clearance is as a design part is generally around 2 to 10% given of the thickness. The fracture then propagates inward to provide the complete separation as shown here. So, in case of A there is a proper clearance, and then the B there is a insufficient clearance, then what will happen? The rugged surface is formed, which is not desirable. In third case, when you provide excessive clearance, then you have a blur form, which is again not desired. So, a proper clearance of around 2 to 10% of the thickness is generally given to have a good component sheared edge is smooth. So, the proper clearance, that means a clean fracture surface has to be there. Insufficient clearance means rugged fracture surface would be formed, and if the clearance is excessive, a greater distortion, greater energy required to separate the metal, and that is how the two things are important, the thickness and clearance in shearing and blanking operations. Usually the maximum punch force which is required, the friction is not a condition, friction is not very much required. The force required to shear a metal sheet, that is the length cut, the sheet thickness, the shearing strength, and all these things are very important as far as the force, how much force you are going to use it for shear a metal sheet. So, three things: the length of the cut, the sheet thickness, and the shearing strength, that the type of alloy. Usually in a rough way, the maximum punch force to produce the shearing is given by this equation, where the P max is generally around 0.7 ultimate strength of the material multiplied by the thickness of the sheet and multiplied by the total length of the sheared edge. So, one can calculate as P max as 0.7 sigma u h L. So, sigma u is your ultimate tensile strength, h is your thickness, and L is the total length of the sheared edge. The shearing force, that is how it is by making the edges of the cutting tool as an inclined angle, right. So, that has to be very clearly mentioned. And then the blanking operation, which we say, the blanking, the shearing of close contours, when the metal inside the contour is the desired part. So, the blanking is another, like if you see here, you make a blanks, circular blank, then rectangular blanks. So, you require the shear of the close contour when the metal inside the contour is the desired part. So, the punching or piercing is another example here. You have the shearing of the material when the metal inside the contour is discarded in this case, and then you have the notching operation where the punch removes material from the edge or corner of a strip or blank or part, like this case. So, here you have a different kind of operations which is combined with the blanking, punching, piercing and notching in this case. These all happens to be the type of sheet forming. Another interesting, like it is shown here, the parting, where the parting of parting tool you use, like in lathe. So, the parting is like the simultaneous cutting along at least two lines which balance each other from the standpoint of side thrust on the parting tool. The other is the slitting operation, where the cutting or shearing along single lines to cut strip from a sheet, or to cut along lines of a given length or contour in a sheet of or workpiece is shown here. And the trimming is another case where the operation of cutting scrap of a partially or fully shaped part to an established trim line, which is shown here, like the trimming of flashes out of the blank, forced blank, etc. Another operation we come across, the shaving. The shaving, where a secondary shearing or cutting operation in which the surface of a previously cut edge is finished or is smoothened by removing a minimum amount of stock, like as shown here. Ironing, the another operation where a continuous thinning process and often accompanies deep drying, that is the thinning of the wall of a cylindrical cup by passing it through an ironing die, like shown here. The fine blanking is another example here, where you look at the very fine blanks of at different regions and number of blanks, where the fine blanking means a very smooth and the square edges are produced in small parts, such as the gears, cams and leaves, levers and all those things. You can see the some of the very common shape which is produced by fine blanking. The bending operation, if you see on the sheet, where that's a process by which a straight length is transformed into a curved length, right? So you produce channels, you produce drums, you produce tanks using this. So you can see the operation how you do the bending. One can see here you have a some kind of punching and then toolings and then dies, you supporting dies and then pressing. So all those combinations, different forms of bending is shown here in this figure. You can see the different forms, and in case of bending, what happens, the bend radius is important. So bend radius, generally capital R, that is the radius of curvature on the concave or inside surface of the bend. So you have here the bending case where the fibers on the outer surface are strained, more than fibers on the inner surface that are contracted fibers at the mid thickness is stretched. Generally it decreases in thickness, that is the radius direction, at the bend to preserve the constancy of volume. So the R, which is the bend radius, the thickness on the bending, is very important, and the bending radius also decides, it is considered on the basis of the type of material you are using. We will discuss these in later, but the condition with the bending is that there is no change in the thickness should take place. The neutral axis will remain at the center fiber line, and the circumferential stretch on the top surface, that is EA, must be equal to the shrink on the bottom surface, that is EB. So generally capital R, which is the strain EU, and that is what is equal to minus EB is equal to 1 by 2 capital R by H plus 1, This is what's the equation where r is the bend radius and h is the thickness. You can calculate the circumferential stretch on the top surface as well as on the bottom surface using this equation. The minimum bend radius that is important for a given bending operation. The smallest bend radius can be made without cracking on the outer tensile surface usually. So normally it is expressed in multi pulse of the sheet thickness, and for an example, if you take a 3T bend radius, when we a 3T bend radius means the metal can be bent without cracking through a radius equal to the 3 times the sheet thickness. Okay. So that's another. As far as the effect on the B by H ratio on the ductility is concerned, as I said, this plot shows the B by H on the x axis side and the stresses sigma 2 by sigma 1. So that is the effect on both and biaxially and bend ductility. So the stress state is taken in this case as the biaxial, that is sigma 2 by sigma 1 ratio, and the width by thickness, that is the B by H ratio, it is taken on the x axis. So as the B by H increases, biaxially you see it is increasing, and the strain and ductility, so once it is increasing, the crack occur near the center of the sheet, and that has to be avoided. So one can choose the contact points, so the bending region where it is, and the other, so the contact points comes out around 3.2. So the B by H ratio 3 by 2 seems to be very well accepted for this case. As you know, in most of the forming operation, because the sheet thickness is very less, so there is a phenomenon, we call it as the spring back. This happens almost all cases, especially in the bending and cup forming as well as. So the spring back, the amount has to be as a allowance to be added. So because the dimensional change of the formed part after releasing the pressure of the forming tool due to the change in strain will be produced by elastic recovery form. So spring back is nothing but the elastic recovery of once you remove the forming load. So the spring back generally it depends on the yield stress, it depends on the elastic modulus, and then it depends on the plastic strain and the spring back as well. Usually the spring back is encountered in all forming operations, as I said, but most easily occur in bending operation. Okay. For an example, for aluminum alloys and austenitic stainless steels, in a number of cold roll tempers, approximate spring back in bending and can be expressed by this equation number 2, where you have R0 by Rf. So R0 is the radius of the curvature before release of load, and Rf is the radius of curvature after release of the load. So R0 by Rf is usually taken as 4 multiplied by R0 by EH cube minus 3 R0 sigma divided by EH plus 1, where, and generally R0 is less than Rf. And so for this situation, the solution is that you have to compensating the spring back by bending to a smaller radius of curvature than which is desired, and that is what is the overbending. By trial and error method it can be done. The force PB, which is required to bend a particular length capital L about the radius capital R, may be estimated from this equation 3. So, one can calculate the force required for bending. Usually the bending can be applied into lot of applications, like if you see here, these all products is as a result of bending operations. So, especially you have the tube bending here. So, the bending of tube and structural material for industry, architecture and medical and refinery are very common. As you can see here, the heat induction and hot slab bending requires the heating of pipe locally, and as well as tube or structural shapes like here. So, the heat induction bending is typically a higher cost bending, where the process and is primarily used in large diameter material as shown here. Stretch forming is another example, as I said, of sheet forming, where if you look at the component on the right side, it is produced by stretch forming, which is feasible for aluminum, stainless steel and titanium also can be used. So, what happens in case of stretch forming? You are using forming by using tensile forces to stretch the material over a tool or a form block, and usually most extensively in the aircraft industry. Generally, the stretch forming is very popular in aircraft industry to produce parts of a large radius of curvature, normally for uniform cross section. So, like this example which is shown, generally this requires material with appreciable ductility to have forming, stretch forming, and the spring back is largely eliminated because the stretch gradient is relatively very uniform here. So, there is almost no spring back effect in case of stretch forming. This is another way of stretch forming equipments. So, you require ram, you require jaws for stretching, for holding the lengths, and you are using a hydraulic driven ram, normally vertical. You require seat is gripped by two jaws at its edges here, and a form block is slowly raised. In fact, the form block is slowly raised by the ram to deform seat above its yield point, and the seat is strained plastically to the required final shape like here. So, the examples of the case is where the large thin panel and the most complex automotive stamping involves a stretching component like here. So, these are some of the examples, and apart from that, there is another area which we call as the micro forming. So, micro forming is also possible, all these operations at the very small level, at even at the micro level that is micron size. So that area is emerging, and most of the component that happens to appear now at the miniature level is an example. So we would further continue this chapter further, and I would like to thank you once again for keeping patience, and hopefully I hope you would be again meeting in the next lecture. So thank you very much.